Hello, this is Audrey and Red, my daughter. We are going to read Understanding the Assault on the Black Manhood and Black Masculinity by Wesley Muhammad. We are cherry picking things out of here that stands out to me. So let's get started. We will be reading Kill the Male, Spare the Female, Part 2. We will be also starting on page 14. And now I'm passing it over to my daughter.
Kill the male, spare the female is the draconian plot that Pharaoh hatched against the children of Israel to keep them from growing in strength and power. We know what kill the male looks like. It looks like Officer Darren Wilson gunning down Michael Brown while Brown is surrendering with his hands up. It looks like Officer Timothy Lowman, rolling up on 12-year-old Tamir Rice while he was playing outside, as 12-year-old boys should do, and immediately gunning him down with absolutely no provocation. And then the city blames the 12-year-old black boy for his own unprovoked murder. We thus know well what kill the male looks like, at least one method of kill the male. But what does spare the female looks like? It looked like Oklahoma City officer Daniel Holtzclaw using the power of his badge to rape 13 vulnerable black women and girls. America is killing the black male and sparing the black female because the black male is seen by white supremacy, going over to page 15, as enemy combat, and the black female is seen as the booty, and as the booty, they can have their way with her. We now know that Daniel Holtzclaw is just the tip of the iceberg. In a year-long investigation of sexual misconduct by U.S. law enforcement, the Associated Press uncovered about 1,000 officers who lost their badges in a 6-year period for rape, sodomy, and other sexual assault, sex crimes that included possession of child pornography or sexual misconduct, such as propositioning citizens or having consensual but prohibited on-duty intercourse.
Dropping it down.
Dropping down to the bottom of page 15, the victims are targeted. They come from the vulnerable demographics, young, poor drug addicts, or those with criminal records. The victims largely come from unprivileged communities of color. These predatory police victimize juveniles like school children about 1/3 of the time. Going over to page 16. Mm-hmm. It is common saying in the South among white males what a male is not. White man that a man is not a man until he has slept with a nigger. The white supremacist or racist concept of the Negro female is that all of them are sluts and prostitutes. At best, they are objective of open sexual lust. In the mind of the racist, the northern ghettos are viewed as jungles of smoldering black flesh against which the prejudiced white man can act out his lewd concept of sex act. The white man, the white racist, exemplifies the more pornographic emotions when he thinks of or actually sees a Negro female. Down south, where racism is rampant, a common experience of all Negro males is the humiliation of hearing about and often witnesses Negro women being fondled, insulted, and seduced by white men. To marry a negress for the sake of having something to care for besides oneself. Plenty of room for self-sacrifice there. I should fancy, I wonder now, if I could care for a negress. After all, right now, a man grows fond of his dog and even gets to have a certain feeling or passionate for him. I suppose it would be equally possible with a maiden, some fresh, budding woman, child of nature, even though black and barbaric. White men don't genuinely love black women, even those they marry, except in the way he can also love his dog. Page 17. Going on to page 18. Sexual violence was a tool of colonial control. It was political praxis. European men established control over invaded territories through sex with indigenous women. In the colonial setting, sex, both metaphorically and literally, became a force for colonializing the non-Western world. Essentially, unrestrained males heterosexually became an instrument for European conquest. As Andrea Smith says as well, U.S. colonizers view the subjugation of women of the native nations as critical to the success of the economic, cultural, and political colonization. Page 18. Symbolic and literal control over their bodies is important in the war against the native peoples. There could be no more illustrative examples of this political use of sexual violence than the report penned by Bartolomé de las Casas, the 16th century Spanish historian who chronicled the first decades of the colonization of the West Indies. In his devastation of the Indies, he reported, "The Christian attacked them with buffets and beatings, and then they behaved with such temerity and shamelessness that the most powerful ruler of the island had to see his own wife raped by a Christian officer." Thus, such institutionalized sexual terror is not peculiar to America. In fact, America's tactics grow out of global strategy of domination employed by white supremacists and its architects. U.S. law enforcement executes Pharaoh's command to kill the male, and U.S. officers are given what's tantamount to a license to enjoy the spoils of war, the booty, spare the female. When black women are killed by cops like Rakia Boyd or Miriam Carey or Sandra Bland, it's because as booty, the black woman is not targeted but is expendable, and her life doesn't matter anymore than the black man does. If kill the black male means kill the black man in his 6 million ways or more, spare the female means keep the black woman around, but only for sexual use and abused by the conquerors of the black man, and when she gets out of line, out of her place, she get to it. It is pathetically poetic that the South Carolina officer Ben Field, who showed such indifference to the life of our little sister, was dating a black woman at the time, according to the police chief. The chief said dating.
That's the end. Okay, that's the end of this portion of the Kill the Man, Spare the. That's the end of this portion. Thank you for listening. Many blessings.